المكتب التعاوني للدعوة والإرشاد وتوعية الجاليات بأبها.
ادع إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن.
Assalamu alaikum. It's nice to see all of you. I feel I want to start officially and properly, but I feel I need to sit for this. But inshallah, we will have a beneficial discussion. But we start, as we know, by the name of Allah. So, in alhamdulillahi ta'ala, نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وبعد. We keep it short and sweet because of time. Verily all praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him, we seek His help, and we seek His forgiveness. We seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the evils of our own selves and from the consequences of our evil actions, from the consequences of our crimes that we commit on a daily and nightly basis. Whomsoever Allah guides, walillahi alhamd, no one can misguide. And whomsoever is misguided, no one can guide this person except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah alone without partner. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His slave and messenger. So I welcome all of you, and I thank you for the nice welcome and for welcoming me. I've only been to Abha 2 times now, and I love many things about it. Definitely the people, the nice smiles, the nice smells, the beautiful weather. We have to be careful we don't give you hasad for the weather. The weather is beautiful, mashallah, tabarakallah. People here in jackets, I'm only wearing the jacket because to try to look more professional for a speaking event. Otherwise, I'd want to take the thobe off and run outside. I love the cold weather, mashallah. Everybody can hear me? Okay, I could sit here and try to do small talk, but we're here for a purpose, so I want to get down to business. So, the title of this talk, and the talk to follow, both of them do not really give you, the listener, a lot, which is good. So, the title, as you see, it says, Sharpen Yourself, Sharpen Your Da'wah. Sharpen yourself, sharpen your da'wah. And before we begin, I have a disclaimer. And then we have some assumptions. But first, the disclaimer. Disclaimer being that this is intended to be the beginning, this is the first weekend of what is a 7-week intensive workshop on giving da'wah. Okay? This is the intention and the purpose to pick some component of da'wah and to learn it in depth, ideally perhaps something we had not studied previously. This is what I understand the goal to be. I want to come to this side, but I don't want to, I keep hitting the table, as long as everyone can see me. Examples of the talk today, effective street da'wah, the brothers giving smooth operator, my talk, sharpen yourself, sharpen your da'wah. Okay? What these workshops are not, or should not be, are generic, laissez-faire talks on how to give da'wah. What do we call to? What is our message? While this would be very easy for me to do, for each one of us to do, and there would be some benefit, this is not why we are gathered here today. So this is the disclaimer. And if I can ask, please, so we're not disturbed, more so the other people are not disturbed, if we can try to keep the discussion at a minimum. So I have some assumptions based on this disclaimer, and the assumptions being that everybody here should be having the following, and that is at least basic foundation of the core Islamic tenets. You should know this. Everyone should have heard at least a khutbah, read a book, listened to a lecture about the basics of da'wah, such as Da'wah 101, methodologies in giving da'wah, okay? Etiquettes of the caller, and so on. And that a good many of us are active or semi-active or would like to become active in giving da'wah. These are my assumptions based on what I know to be the purpose of this workshop. So it is like a master's level, not a bachelor. Everybody has a bachelor. A master's level, a little bit of depth into a specific component of da'wah. So success in da'wah, here's my question to you to start with. We have person A and person B, two Muslims, okay? They both have the same core Islamic knowledge. They both have the same general knowledge of how to invite to Islam, how to deliver the message, what we should call to. In short, they are carbon copies of each other with respect to what we just discussed. But person A seems to find much success in da'wah. Much success from Allah, but person A is finding much success. Person B on the flip side is not. What is the reason for this? Why is person A successful and why is person B struggling in their carbon copies? This is my question to you, a little bit of a discourse. What would be your thought as to why this might be the case?
What about the behavior of person B?
The behavior of person B. Someone else. What's your name?
Muhammad.
Muhammad. Very good. The behavior of person B. Someone else. This is easy.
I think two reasons possible.
One reason.
One reason,
No, there's many reasons. You get one no.
one only, ikhlas.
Ikhlas. Very good. Another one name?
Samir.
Samir. One. The method, their approach. Name? Ahmed. And one more, your name? Muhammad. Yes?
The language in which you deliver the da'wah.
Oh yes, if person A is always giving da'wah in Cantonese to people who speak Urdu, this would be a problem. So I don't know if that's what you're intending. But yes, the language can be an obstacle.
The terminologies of da'wah.
So we heard the behavior, the approach, the language, maybe the smell, maybe the look. Yes.
The willing of the person to give da'wah.
The what?
The willing.
The willing of the person. So we have many things, okay? So I mentioned approach, their tone, the manners, the look. I say the differences can be captured in two words: interpersonal skills. Interpersonal skills. So I have a story for you. A story that is shared in business circles, a story that I expect a lot of the older brothers to have heard because it's a very famous story. A story of two people who were friends and they were working for a logging company. Their job is to cut down trees every day. And after they cut down the tree, they have to prepare the tree and cut it into small pieces. Okay? These two friends, one of them was very strong, mashallah, tabarakallah, like me, right? Marra. The other one was an average guy. Not strong, not weak, average. So they said, let's do a competition. Let's see who can cut down more logs in 1 week. Now the answer should be obvious, but this is what they decide. Let us have this competition. Who can chop more by the end of the week? And you would think the winner should be clear. So day one, what happens? They both grab their axe and they start going. Hitting. End of the day one, strong guy had like 20 logs, 20 trees. Other guy only had like 15. Day two came. Strong guy had about 18 trees. The average guy had around 15 trees, consistent. Day three came. Now the strong guy had only like 15 trees. Average guy had 15 trees, still consistent. And he was taking a lot of breaks. Day four came, and the strong guy's he's sweating, he's tired, he doesn't want to lose. This is his pride. Khalas. He's got these big biceps. This is his honor. So he's working, going crazy, trying to get these trees down. Sorry about the word crazy. I learned that in the thaqafa here, that the word crazy can be thaqeel. But in English, it's very light, but it still comes out. So I've learned that this can be thaqeel, so I try to hold it, but it just escapes my mouth. So excuse me. This is something very common, but I apologize. So he's going and hitting at it, trying, so his honor on the line. Yet on the fourth day, he only got 11 logs. The average guy got 15, and he took like 10 breaks during the day. Then on day 5, this guy, big, strong beast of a man, was worn out, and he got like 7 logs. He went from getting 18 to 7, and he didn't take a single break, not for water, not for anything. And his friend kept taking these breaks every hour for like 5 or 10 minutes. And this was insulting. This is insulting to his honor, to his intelligence, and khalas, he's killing himself. And his friend is taking breaks, and again, he got 15 logs. So you add it all up, and we see, I hope with my numbers, that the average build friend won the competition. This was seemingly impossible. So how did it happen? Shocked. The stronger friend could not believe this. He was dumbfounded, astonished. What happened? And his friend, as I said, was taking all these breaks, adding that insult to the injury. And he asked, how did you possibly win? I did not take breaks. I was working, I want to say I was working like, but I'll hold off. I was working like a horse, if that's acceptable. Very good. In the response, the friend said, I wasn't taking breaks and resting. Whenever I was taking breaks, as you called it, I was spending the time to sharpen my axe. He was spending the time to sharpen his axe, keeping it sharp, consistently getting the 15 trees every day. Whereas his big, strong friend went from 18 to 7, using a dull axe, exerting all of this effort and getting very little success. So now we can begin to think of the title and the purpose of this speech. You want your da'wah to be effective. This is why we're here, trying to learn techniques for da'wah. You want your da'wah to be effective. You want to sharpen your da'wah. Then I encourage you to always remember to spend time sharpening yourself. You have to spend time and set aside time to sharpen yourself. Perhaps you have great Islamic knowledge. Perhaps you have great extensive knowledge of comparative faith traditions, maybe memorized hundreds of verses from the Bible or other supposed holy books, as they say. But if you lack the interpersonal skills that are required to successfully give da'wah, then what will you be like? You will be like you were chopping at da'wah with a dull axe, getting very little success. So the message, work hard increasing your knowledge. Learn these things we discussed. Study the etiquettes and the mannerisms of the caller. Learn the different strategies. At the same time, focus and spend the time, set aside the time to sharpen yourself, to sharpen your metaphorical axe. So now I ask you, what specifically do we sharpen? What specifically do we need to sharpen? Suggestions? The knowledge was a given already. They both had the knowledge. What knowledge? We already mentioned 2 words. Interpersonal skills. The 2 words we just mentioned. We need to sharpen our interpersonal skills. That's the immediate answer. But there's more to it than this. Excuse me. There's more to it than this. So I want to try to give you a little presentation. What makes a successful da'wah encounter? What entails a successful da'wah encounter? Given that you have the prerequisite knowledge, given that, again, you have the knowledge of the different faith traditions, comparative studies, interpersonal skills, what entails a successful da'wah encounter? What sets apart person A from person B? This is the question. What specific subset of interpersonal skills? And I would argue it's the ability to effectively communicate ideas and information to the other party, coupled with the ability to influence that person to sell that person, to win over that other person to your way of thinking. Summed up, sales. Sales. Selling. That's right. The ability to sell yourself and to sell your message. Ask any business person if they do selling. And I'm not talking about a business person who has a sales force of 200 people. They're on the phone all day, meeting customers, calling customers, selling. That's, well, they're doing selling. But a person who, they do not have a sales model for their business. But ask that owner, does he do sales? Guaranteed he will respond, absolutely. Absolutely. Every day, every phone call, every conversation with a customer, he is selling that customer on himself and his business. Selling that customer to do business and to give his company business. We're always doing sales. So I say here, really? Does da'wah really, as we say, boil down to sales? Does it really boil down to sales? The answer is, I would argue, yes it does. Absolutely. One of the definitions of sell, Merriam-Webster, to persuade or influence to a course of action, to convince, to persuade or influence to a course of action, or to the acceptance of something. And this is what we're doing when we're trying to give da'wah. We are trying to persuade the other party to a course of action or to the acceptance of something. What is the something? Islam. Right? So this is the definition of sell. In layman's terms, convince the other person to your way of thinking. Win them to your way of thinking. So giving da'wah equates with selling a message. What is da'wah? There's many definitions, many ayat we can refer to, inviting the other person to Islam. Allah says in the Quran, famous verse, oft repeated, Ud'u, invite, Ud'u ila sabili rabbika. Invite to the way of your Lord. Bil hikmah, with wisdom. With wisdom, very important. We talk about the ability to communicate with wisdom. Wal maw'idatil hasana, and with good speech, with good preaching. And continue the ayah, wajadilhum, very important. Wajadilhum billati hiya ahsan. And argue with them. I don't like to say it to this way. There's maybe other words softer words you could choose to translate. But the word is what it is. And argue with them. Discuss with them in a way that is best. Invite to the way of your Lord. Use wisdom. Use good preaching. Argue, but I put here, convince, influence, persuade in a way that is best. This is a command that we are given. So I say that it's a fact, knowingly or unknowingly, but a da'i that is successful in da'wah, they are using proven sales techniques when they are giving da'wah. Maybe they know it or they don't know it, but this is a fact. They are using these proven sales techniques. And the recognition that da'wah is in fact selling a message, this is a good thing. This is empowering, I say. Why would this be empowering? Rhetorical, don't have to answer. Why would this be empowering? I suggest to you it's extremely empowering because when we recognize that da'wah is selling a message, this is tremendously empowering simply due to the sheer quantity of resources available that teach you techniques on how to successfully administer a sale. Thousands and thousands of books, tens of thousands of videos used in business circles all around the world of how to effectively and successfully administer a sale. So this is empowering because now we just opened up a huge set of resources for us, for our da'wah. What is our first and foremost resource though? La shak. The Quran and the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is by far our top resource. By far our number one resource. This is what we rely upon. Allah says in the Quran, referring to the nature, the character of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He is our best example. Allah says that no doubt, for certain, in the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, for you, there was a good example to be followed. I'm adding the to be followed. There was this good example for you to follow. He is our best example to learn how to give da'wah. And we have again many ayat, many ahadith that have been mentioned during those generic how to give da'wah lectures, da'wah 101. And that's not what we're here for today. We're here to go deeper. But he was our key example, our primary example. What about the resources outside the domain of ayat and ahadith? Somebody might think, is that acceptable? Can we really learn how to give da'wah outside the domain of Islam? And all of a sudden somebody's going to start putting someone on a blacklist and saying this person's off some manhaj and something. But the fact is, we go to universities and we study many domains of knowledge. And we're not seeking this knowledge exclusively through the Quran and the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We study at universities, sciences, mathematics. I'm obligated to throw in computing and information technology at the University of what? Who heard it? We heard too. Malik Abdulaziz in Jeddah. We study many things. I have to plug it. Medicine. So we don't make our capture of knowledge exclusive from the Quran and from the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We go study secular things for this. Similarly, successful businessmen, women, they spend thousands of, you pick the currency, dollar, riyal, whatever, thousands. They travel around the world, attending seminars, attending conferences, workshops, all for one singular purpose: to learn effective sales strategies and techniques to help them be successful. This is a huge industry with masses, large quantities of resources available. Many famous books. I brought I brought three of them, but I brought two of them in actually paper copy. I lost my third. But many famous books. I think someone, I was surprised, and I should not have been, but I think many people here can at least mention one book. Anybody can think of a book written by a non-Muslim that has been very popular in the last 10 years in in business circles? Okay, yes, but I think there's ones that are more popular, and the author. Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, or something like this. I have to memorize the title. I read this book once. It was good, but it was really more of a fad. It was a great book, but there's books that were like from the golden age of sales that until now people are referring to as like the usul. You want to study the usul of sales? You go to these books. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie. It's a little mesquite looking right now, but it moves. It's like a transformer. But How to Win Friends, Influence People. Dale Carnegie. How to Have Confidence and Power in Dealing with People by Les Giblin. Great, great book. The third, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling by Frank Bettger. And the list goes on and on and on. And there are seminars till this day teaching the techniques that are detailed in these books. So answering the question, what specifically do we sharpen? We mentioned interpersonal skills, but what specifically beyond this do we sharpen? Confidence in dealing with people, methods to influence others, proven sales techniques. So to try to facilitate an outline, I had 3 books that I strongly recommended, and I focused on the outline of one book to pick components from it, but then I really pulled from all three. But I focused on the book from Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And notice the name, How to Win Friends. You might think, I'm giving da'wah, I'm not trying to get a friend. I don't want to be his friend, I want to be a Muslim. No. If you want to convince someone of something, you need to build a rapport. They need to be comfortable with you. You need to develop a relationship. And you need to do this sincerely, with a genuine interest in that person. The title is very profound. How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it's divided into 4 major sections. The al-usul, I call it, the fundamental techniques of just dealing in this domain. Part 2, 6 ways to make people like you. Part 3, how to win people to your way of thinking. And then part 4, how to change people without giving offense. This is a neat kind of da'wah talk, huh? I like it. I've never seen one like it. So we'll see how it goes. We can edit that out. Got that? Okay. Technique number 1. So we're going to talk about techniques from the book. Directly from the book. Technique number 1. From al-usul, from the foundations. They mentioned 3. I put in a 4th from another book. If you want to gather honey, don't knock over the beehive. Is that clear? You want to go get honey from the beehive, you do it carefully. You're not going to walk over to the beehive, kick it over, and try to get it like you have no intelligence.
What's a beehive?
A beehive is the mechanic. That's what I was going to say, if I knew that word. No need for translation, so we got it. That's the beehive. If you want to gather honey, don't knock over the beehive. A very simple principle in human relations. You want to gather honey from this person. What honey? You want to be friends with this person. You want to be able to influence this person. You want to be able to send messages to this person. You want to convince them. So do not start by knocking over the beehive. Okay? Do not start with criticism, condemnation, and start by blasting them. There will be little to no benefit that can be remained. A quote, anyone can criticize, condemn, and complain, but it takes character and self-control to be patient and understanding. No doubt. The Prophet ﷺ said something that we've all heard, مَنْ كَانَ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَلْيَقُلْ خَيْرًا أَوْ لِيَصْمُتْ. You believe in Allah on the last day? Either say good or zip it. There's no benefit. Again, he's our best example. We don't need to go read a book to learn, hey, if you got something bad to say, it's better not to say it. He already taught us this. If you have something good to say, something beneficial to add to the discussion, bring it. But if you don't have something good to say, zip it. You do no good by bringing it out, rather you do harm. Bil'aks, you do harm. I was trying to learn some new words. Okay? Technique number 2. Give honest and sincere appreciation. Give honest and sincere appreciation. Clinical psychologists, they have studied the human nature and what humans at their core desire. And you might think that people at their core, we want Mandi. No. At our core, what do humans desire? What is our core? Of human nature, what do they desire? They've studied this, and the answer was greatness, appreciation, the desire to be recognized. We're all egotists. Our egos. We want a feeling of importance. Not a feeling of being big, but not a feeling that we're dirt. At the core, we are egotists. We want a feeling of that, yes, we do have an importance, even if it's small, but we do have an importance, and I would like to have that recognition. And this has been shown again and again and again. So give honest and sincere appreciation. The Prophet ﷺ, when he sent Mu'adh bin Jabal to Yemen, there's many hadith talking about many components of instructions that he gave him. What to teach the people, what to call them to, which I would normally go into on another talk. But for our purposes, I mentioned one other thing he mentioned. When he sent Mu'adh bin Jabal to Yemen, there was several narrations. I picked the shorter one to make it sweet. That's coming. Different narration. Different narration. Because it says several hadith that I'm going to be using here. But right now I was talking, I can mention it now anyway, but I'm talking about being easy with the people, being appreciative of the people. So I was going to mention the one where he said, Bashira wala tu'assir. No, Bashira wala tu'assira. That's the longer one. Bashira wala tunafira, wa yassira wala tu'assira, wa tatawa'a wala takhtalifa. That's the longer one. What's the shorter one? It's coming up. We have to be patient. So I confused my hadith. Excuse me. I did not memorize 60 pages of slides. I'm having to look back, which I feel is very inappropriate, but I apologize. So the famous statement we hear, I've been in Saudi for a year and a half, and I've heard this many times. When people want to make the argument of the need to give thanks, and we should know this naturally. Prophet ﷺ, several different narrations again. The one that I mentioned here, Man la yashkurin nas, la yashkurillah. Whoever does not thank the people, this person is not thanking Allah. And there's much that can be talked just about this hadith, but I'm just mentioning things when they're backing up what's being discussed. But give a sincere appreciation. Thank people. There's no harm. It doesn't take away from you, right? And this is easy and light on the tongue for you to do. Technique 3. Arouse in the other person an eager want. Awaken. See, this shows I was reading the book a lot. I intentionally changed the word to awaken. The book was written 1940s, I believe. 40s, 30s, old book. And the common word was arouse back then, which is fine. I used the word awaken, but because I just read the book several times recently, the word was still on my mind, which is a perfectly acceptable word, but we understand maybe different meanings, so I changed to awaken. Awaken in the other person an eager want. Very important. The only way you can get someone to truly do something effectively is to convince them to want to do it. If they don't want to do it, likely they're not going to. Okay? Awaken in them a desire of what they want. Show a person what they want, and they will, quote unquote, move mountains trying to get there. I want you to know that for each one of these, we have very limited time, and I want to get through some techniques. This is a book, 300 pages. Other books totaling 600 pages. Each one of these techniques maybe has 15, 20 pages behind it with a lot of great stories that I unfortunately can't delve into it due to time constraints. But inshallah, we'll get some small benefit from them. Technique 4, enthusiasm. Many a book talking about business and success and sales always devote several chapters to enthusiasm. And people, many authors come at it different ways, but the fundamental argument, be enthusiastic. Be confident, be enthusiastic, and other people will follow your enthusiasm. They've done studies in sales so show that 51% of sales effectiveness comes from enthusiasm. One of the best definitions of a sale is the transfer of enthusiasm from one party to another. Become enthusiastic. The best da'i is often the one that is the most sincerely enthusiastic. And if you wrote down any of the books, out of the 3, the one that really covered this topic beautifully was How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling by Frank Bettger. He talked about how he was nothing and he decided I got nothing left. He was going to quit everything. He said, but I'm going to go back, I'm going to give it one day. I'm just going to be extremely, I'm trying to pick a nice word, enthusiastic. beyond enthusiastic. People are going to think I'm just silly, maybe lost it a little bit, but I'm going to be so enthusiastic just to see what happens. And his sales went up tenfold in that one day. He's like, huh? What happened? He didn't know what happened. The power of enthusiasm, to be enthusiastic. Sincere enthusiasm. Where does this come from? You don't have to fake it. Sincere enthusiasm. It should come from your belief in Islam. The belief of how you feel Islam affects your life. The belief of how you hope it will affect your hereafter. And the belief of how you would like the other person to receive this gift. That should make you enthusiastic. Unfortunately, not many of us get that enthusiasm for da'wah. If there's a promotion for Mandi, for 10 riyals, nifs dajaj habba, we will recommend it to everybody. Did you know? On Malik Abdullah Street, it's the best. I mean, what, you get the vein coming out of the neck and everything, be salivating, all because of like 2 riyal saving. Comes to da'wah, often very little enthusiasm. But da'wah is the best gift that we've ever received. We should be excited and very enthusiastic about it for ourselves and enthusiastic to deliver this message to others. Part 2. How to make people like you. How to make people like you. Interesting title. This is part 2 from his book. How to make people like you. Principle number 1. Become genuinely interested in other people. Become genuinely interested in the person you are trying to give da'wah to. You want to be successful and have effective da'wah? You want people to listen to your message? Give them a reason. Give them a reason to listen to you. Show that you're interested in them. Develop this rapport. Develop this potential friendship over time. You develop this bond and this trust. You show that you are truly interested in the other person, sincerely interested, and they will like you. And the door will be open. Now, too often people are like, I ain't interested. I don't want to be friends. I just want to give them da'wah. It doesn't work that way, Habib. If you want to be successful, have a genuine interest in the other person. Principle number 2, taught all the time, smile. And what's beautiful about smiling is it's reciprocated. You can have the meanest person, horrible day, and you give him a sincere smile and he melts. He melts. It's coming up, but I'll say it now, we don't have to follow order. What's the famous hadith? Prophet ﷺ, your smile to the face of your brother is a sadaqah. Smile. Smile, something so easy. Science has proven it takes less muscles to make a smile than to make a frown. It's a fact. It's a fact. Speak to the doctors here, medical doctors. It's a fact. Yet people are always frowning, often not smiling enough. And smiling is a simple technique with tremendous benefits, easy to do, amazing dramatic effects, and almost instantaneously lowers the defenses and the guard of the person that received the smile. Almost instantaneously. It's a beautiful thing. Yet how many of us are not using this free technique? And here's the hadith briefly mentioned. Principle 3. Remember that a person's name is one of the most beautiful things in their vocabulary to them. Is that clear? Remember that a person's name is very important to them. Human nature, egotists, personally, and my personal opinion is honestly, even I would personally, wallah, think that my opinion is very meaningless, and this people are much better than me. But my personal opinion, nevertheless, this book is tremendous, and I shouldn't say the best, but for the way I'm trying to use it, tremendous, from the 3. Focusing on the human nature of how we're all egotists. This is the Les Giblin, how to have power and confidence in dealing with people. And how we're all egotists. And you can either nurture the ego of the person that you're trying to call to, or you can harass the ego. You can upset their ego, or you can massage their ego. We're all egotists. We want to feel important. A starved ego is a mean ego. Nice quotation. A hungry ego is a mean ego. Feed the ego. They always say, don't feed the animals. Feed the ego. Do it liberally, lavishly. Feed the ego. I say, want dramatic results? Combine it with principle that we just mentioned, smiling. And I think everybody here has probably used this. And unfortunately, I've used it many times. And not so unfortunately, but we use it for selfish reasons. But you can go, and where's something simple that we deal in our daily life where you'll see people's name tags? A worker, you'll see their name tag. Where? Hospital? You said hospital? Hospital, police, airport. You mention it. But you go somewhere, again, I'm going to speak English, but it says, Bilal. Say, Assalamu alaikum, Bilal, how are you doing? Whatever. And you say, how are you? You say something nice to him. All of a sudden, he's like, what just happened? He doesn't, he's like, why are you saying my name and being nice and smiling? It's ghareeb. But you go to restaurants where it's so busy. What's one of the most famous restaurants in Saudi Arabia? Al-Baik. Asif, but it's a fact. One of the most famous in Saudi Arabia, Al-Baik. Al-Baik is something phenomenal, and that's not necessarily positive. I have seen some crazy things at Al-Baik. Sorry for the word again. It's absolutely astounding. Just go to YouTube, Al-Baik, and you see some amazing things. But you go to Al-Baik, I've done this several times, and you have these workers, often they'll be different descents, but many of them will speak pretty decent English. Raphael, how are you? How's your day going? He's like taken aback, like, it's kind of weird, right? And then all of a sudden, the service that I receive, far better than what everybody else received. It's a fact. Human nature. You just fed his ego. He's happy to return the favor. You want some extra garlic sauces? Now you get them upstairs anyway. But the point is, this is just how human nature works. Feed the ego, get dramatic results, combine it with the smiling, and mashallah, you get some extra garlic sauce. Principle number 4. Be a good listener. Encourage the others to talk about themselves. This shows that you care about their opinions. You care about what they're saying. Again, we're talking about feeding the ego. So in the book it mentioned 6, actually it mentioned 7, but space I put 6. It mentioned 7 specific steps or strategies of how to be an effective listener. Because you can fake listening to somebody. Like, I'm bored, yep, you're just daydreaming. But if you want to truly be interested in someone, and you want to truly develop this relationship, to truly be able to invite them to Islam, you need to be an effective listener. So step number 1, look at the person that's talking. If they're worth listening to, then no doubt they're worth. Okay? Now some people, brothers, will make an excuse, mashallah. So I give da'wah to this woman, she's beautiful. He said, look at her. And it's like they use like this as like a dalil for them. Brother, let the sisters give da'wah to the sisters. Barakallah feek. Okay? And so it's not applicable to you. Or vice versa. I shouldn't only blame the brothers. This happens in the opposite. Appear deeply interested. Now, I don't like the usage of this word appear because it's appear as a fake. No. Seriously. Sincerely be genuinely interested and make sure you appear so. And if you are sincerely interested, you should appear sincerely interested. It mentioned nodding your head, maybe smiling, maybe saying that's right. And show that you are actively following what they're saying. Ask questions perhaps. Like, well, could you elaborate a little further on that? Or why did you say this? Actively listening. The 4th step in the book was saying lean forward a little bit. Just a little bit. Just human nature. Now, if you're sitting back, arms crossed, you're not interested. Lean forward, arms are down. You you're interacting with them. Step 4, don't interrupt. Instead, don't interrupt, but it's possible, ask them to elaborate and to give you more details on what they're mentioning. Stick to the speaker's subject. Don't deviate from what they're talking about until they're done discussing it. If you want to say something, but stick to their subject so you're not trying to change it and they can feel that. And then when you finally respond, use the speaker's words in your response, which is a hujjah, that, hey, I was listening because now I'm using your points. And the thing is they appreciate this. Because now you made them feel important because you listened, you cared, you did not interrupt, and we can, inshallah, have a good dialogue. Principle 5, talk in terms of the other person's interests, their desires. When you do this, it shows that you are genuinely interested in them. If a person, find out what they like. If they like football, talk about football. They like cars, airplanes, talk about that. If they like their faith tradition, no problem. Let them talk about their faith tradition. Ask them what they like about their faith tradition. Be sincerely interested in that. Give them that opportunity. Talk within the other person's interests. Principle 6, make the other person feel important. And do it sincerely. 3 ways. Believe that other people are important. And it's sad to even have to mention this in these books. It says, believe. I was like, well, shouldn't we know that everybody's important? Well, maybe some people think that other people aren't important. Everybody's important. From the highest to the lowest, everybody has an importance. So if you haven't realized that, step 1, realize it. Step 2, convince yourself of this and believe that everybody is indeed important. Notice other people. Notice other people. Tremendous what this does. So you've already caught their name. You've already smiled at them, having a conversation. It's going to sound silly. These are stories from the books, but you mentioned something about them. It's a nice shirt you're wearing. I like, something. Your jacket, your this, new pair of shoes. You just noticed them. You got their name, you smile. You're handling them. They don't realize it. You just noticed them. And you just made them feel a little bigger. They're going to walk away, their chest is out. They feel like a bigger person. It might seem silly, but this is human nature. Notice other people. Never act superior. This was the 3rd component. While doing these things, don't inadvertently try to make yourself get noticed. People want to impress others, make a good first impression. One of the best first impressions that you can make on other people? Let them know that they've impressed you. It's pretty nice. It's not for me. I can't take any of this. Love you, Lord. Wow, Dr. Yahya. I get a quote 8 years later in a book. No, not for me. But you wanna make a great first impression? Let them know that they impressed you. And they're going to walk away, wow, that guy was great. Tremendous aspects of human nature. How to win people to your way of thinking. And as I start these principles, mind you, I made the pitch to you that this is a sales process, sales technique, so I could stick straight with that, but I want to weave in, obviously, how we can use these concepts in da'wah. Now, even if I don't do that, you can take these things and realize, well, smile when giving da'wah, use their name when giving da'wah. Some of these things are clear. But at this juncture, how to win people to your way of thinking, I want to begin to ask you, if I don't give examples, ask you for examples of how we can apply this. So principle number 1, the only way to win an argument is to avoid it. Period. You can disagree, but the only way to win an argument is to avoid it, based on my usage of the word win. Okay? Because what is your goal in da'wah? I ask you. What is your goal in da'wah? Are you trying to win arguments? Are you trying to build up your own ego to feel good about yourself? Famous saying, win an argument, lose the sale. Beat the other person, win the argument, you feel good, you've lost the sale. I remember when I first became a Muslim, you know, I went through a process. I don't want to get on too much of a tangent, but it's related. It took me like a year and a half. I was pretty stubborn to finally accept Islam. Went through this process, and in that process, I learned a lot about comparative faith traditions. I memorized a lot of verses from the Bible. And I was, obviously, to be expected, pretty enthusiastic. I was out there giving da'wah, the famous saying in America, like a chicken with its head cut off, running around all wildly, not knowing what you're doing, just giving da'wah to the wall if you have to. Just you want to give da'wah. And I was destroying people. I'll tell you, it felt good. I was getting in debates, and I was like a UFC da'wah fighter, doing arm bars, submitting them in like seconds, quoting this verse, that verse, beating them down with words, with their own Bible. I was like, yeah! I felt like I'm a man when I left. Did I ever get a single person to even remotely think about becoming a Muslim? Ever? Never. Never. I took that beehive and I destroyed it. I killed all the bees. I sucked all the honey up. You know, I didn't even give them a chance to reproduce. We have to be smart when we give da'wah. So are you trying to win arguments? Or are you trying to bring people by Allah's leave to Islam? So if the saying, win an argument, lose the sale. Because winning an argument only serves to hurt the ego or the pride of the other individual. The only true way to win an argument is to avoid it. Principle 2. Show respect for the other person by trying not to say you're wrong. Now we bring that to down when somebody says, but Asif, Victor, aren't they wrong? Yes, we can state unequivocally, they are wrong. But is there a fa'idah to go tell them that they're wrong? Is there any benefit to go say, Habibi, you know, you're wrong, so I'm going to let you know up front? There's no benefit, right? I mean, we laugh because it sounds so silly. But people do this all the time. Maybe to build their own ego, to get their own feeling of self-worth. This happens all the time. So, yes, to be clear, they are wrong. But what happens when you tell someone that they're wrong? You've struck a blow at their pride, at their self-worth, at their judgment, at their self-esteem. Defenses go up, they become combative, and what could have been a conducive discussion, a beneficial discussion, just became an argument, which we just agreed we can't win, based on what we mean by winning. So it's difficult already to persuade a person to your way of thinking. Otherwise, we wouldn't have all these seminars and books and thousands of videos written on the subject, discussed on the subject. It's difficult already, no need to make it nearly impossible. So what if they really are wrong? Okay, I say, what if they really are wrong? How about a new approach? This is again a quote from the book. Listen to this quote, it was beautiful. Well, so you let them talk, you talked with their interests, and now you respond. Well, that's a good point, Bob. I thought, don't laugh. Well, that's a good point, Billy. I thought otherwise. But I may be wrong. I frequently am. And if I am wrong, I want you to correct me. If I am wrong, I want you to correct me. Let's examine the facts. What did you just handled this person. They were about to be combative, right? And you just said, that's a good point you're making. Now you know it's a wrong point, Islamically. That's a good point you're making. I thought otherwise, but I can be wrong. I often am wrong, You've just given some humility. And be sincere. I am wrong often, right? It's a fact in many things. You don't think you're wrong here. No need to put that out there. I am often wrong. And if I am wrong, I do sincerely want you to correct me, and I'll appreciate it. You just took all of his combative spirit and you just made him into a nice little, puppy dog or something, whatever you would say in the culture. He can't even come fight with you at this point, even if he wants. Let's examine the facts. Principle 3, if you are wrong, admit it emphatically and quickly, passionately. Put it out there. I was wrong, buddy. I was wrong, you were right, and I really thank you for telling me. Maybe try to find something that you can be wrong about, intentionally. So they can show that you were wrong, and so you can give them that. Because when you say, I was wrong, and you sincerely put it out there, and you thank them and appreciate them for correcting you, what's the benefit? This sets the mood that it's okay to be wrong, and it's okay to admit it. Because we're egotists. We don't want to admit being wrong. Changing from one faith to a tradition to another is a tremendous thing of saying that my judgment was wrong. It's not like, well, I was wrong. I thought it was 12 riyals, but you're right, it was 14. People don't like admitting to that. 2 riyals, they do not like admitting to that. So to admit that they were wrong with their understanding of life, that's a big thing you're hoping to get from them. So if you can set the mood that it's okay to admit being wrong, this will go a long way in your goal of trying to give effective da'wah. Begin in a friendly way. This is almost repetitive at this point, but it was mentioned. So begin in a friendly way. Praise their efforts in seeking the truth. Talk about how this is a lofty and a praiseworthy thing. They should be proud of themselves for something and something. Try to say something praiseworthy about what they're doing and about how they're approaching the subject. Basically, be friendly and gentle. Nice statement. A drop of honey will always catch more flies than a gallon or 4 liters of gall bile. It's just something nasty. A drop of honey will catch more flies than a lot of something disgusting. I think the message is clear. Okay? This is what I mentioned when the Prophet ﷺ sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal to Yemen. He said, be easy with the people. بَشِّرَا وَيَسِّرَا وَعَلِّمَا وَلَا تُنَفِّرَا. Be easy with the people. First, give glad tidings. بَشِّرَا. Give glad tidings. Be easy with the people. Okay? And then educate them and do not turn the people off. Get the other people saying yes, yes, as quickly as you can. Get them in this mood of saying yes, yes. This is a famous and proven sales technique. Ask yes questions, questions that are guaranteed to result in a yes answer. Because again, we're setting the mood. We want to ultimately say, so are you ready to say your shahada? You want them to say yes. We are in a world where daily we're seeing often hundreds of advertisements are thrown our way. We feel people are trying to sell us at every corner from childhood. So we have a natural resistance to any pressure. No! Dude, I ain't said nothing yet. I just looked at you. No! And this is the facial expression that people will give. So you want to try to get people into a yes mode, inshallah ta'ala. Every, I say prospect in sales, every person has a buying temperature, an acceptance temperature, a point at which they will accept the message. We don't know what that temperature is. We don't know when they will accept it, but it's been proven every yes you get is one step closer to that acceptance temperature where they're ready to jump on board. Examples, and famous ones that are used, and they're really almost comical. You want to give da'wah at your work. You walk up to somebody, you haven't talked to them before. You know they work there. So, do you work here? What's the answer? Yes. You might look a little goofy, but you got a yes. Oh, really? Great. And you're talking. Do you believe, what I'll put next, do you believe in the value, do you believe in the value of faith in one's life? Yeah. It's a pretty easy question to ask. You start talking, do you believe in one God? Yes. Do you believe in this? Yes. Do you believe in this? Yes. You're really setting the stage for a lot of yeses. And this is what people do to set that mood to get people to say yes to the most important question. Let the other person do a great deal of the talking. I'm going to have to speed this up because I want to get to some of the... I'm already talking really fast. But we have to buckle up your seatbelt, which everybody does in Saudi, right? So buckle up because we have to go a little faster. So, because I want to get to the last few points, and I think I'm going to be waved at soon saying we're running out of time. Let the other person do a great deal of the talking, stating their case, why they care about it. Use the listening strategies that were mentioned previously. Principle 7, honestly try to see things from their perspective. Don't just use the strategy, the listening strategies, and then stop and start arguing, but really try to see where they're coming from. Because that will open the door for you to a technique to possibly help suggest things to them. Try to sincerely see things from their perspective. Be sympathetic with their opinion. Try to understand their opinion, not just see it from their perspective, but understand it and be sympathetic towards their opinion. These are great techniques coming. Number 9, pause before you answer. So they just spoke for 10 minutes. You've nodded, you followed all the strategies, you said that's a nice point, you've really guided them with it to let them just speak, you were interested in it, genuinely, sincerely. Now it's your turn. Pause. Don't just jump in immediately, pause. From the strategies of listening, this lets them know, number 1, that you were listening. Number 2, that you want to take a moment to think about and contemplate over their opinions. Because their opinions are important to you. This is what you're showing them. On the opposite, if you did not pause and you immediately responded, what does this show? That I wasn't listening, that as you were talking, I was constantly thinking of my rebuttal, i.e. now we're arguing, and we have an entire different atmosphere all of a sudden. So what does it do? It turns a polite discussion into a heated argument, and again, we know the unfortunate reality of arguments. So the message, pause before responding. Principle 10, state your case accurately and moderately and clearly. The natural tendency when you're in the face of opposition is you start to build things up and exaggerate it and be a little bit forceful, especially when you know you're right. You begin to become a little bit forceful. And people will use this method because it seems like it's going to work. Often in your workplace, you will see this. I have unfortunately participated in it. You have an opinion. It's clearly the right thing. The other person is being stubborn. And you want to basically build yourself up and show them why they're wrong. So you destroy their opinion. You beat them down. You show them up. You basically, as I say, wipe the floor with them. You get to a point where they truly can't respond because you've given every dalil in the book. They can't say anything. But do they agree with you? Never. I mean, it's like you're talking to the wall would be better. Because you just attacked their ego. You did nothing to massage their ego. So the point here, state your case moderately. So I'm sorry, you say victory, you beat them up. But is it really a victory? No, it's not. The forceful appeal, you feel good, you feel like you've won, but at what cost? You just attacked their ego, and they're never going to agree with you. Proven in scientific research studies that calmly stated facts are more effective towards influencing others than aggression and force. If we have more time, I could elaborate. There was like a 5-page scientific study mentioned, 10,000 participants listened to arguments. It was beautiful, and it was shown that those who accepted the argument were the ones who were given just the calm facts without a lot of force. Principle 11, don't insist on winning 100%. Don't insist on winning 100%. A common mistake is we want to completely and totally prove everything about our case, that we know for a fact that we are correct, and we want to show everything about it's correct. How does this argument affect the one that's being invited? You're trying to invite them to Islam. How does this approach affect them? How would it affect them, I ask you? What do you think? Yeah?
Negatively, I think it will affect them negatively. Because they will see that you have some reason behind this. Maybe it's a personal reason.
No doubt.
Yes.
We're running out of time. No doubt. It'll affect them very much negatively because you're not even conceding anything. What do skilled persuaders do? They look for something to concede and find some point of agreement. Because if they know if they can concede something for the other person, then that other person might be willing to concede something back to you. This is the important point. And we are out of time, but I need to finish. One last point. I'm going to skip this one because of just pure time. And number 13. Give the other person something to live up to. Give them a reputation to live up to. And this is tremendous. And it works beautifully. Give the other person a reputation to live up to. We are egotists. We all have a reputation to live up to. Paint a praiseworthy reputation for someone and give them the opportunity to live up to it. And more often than not, they will do this. A quick little example I have to give. I was with some people, some brothers. We were going to a bowling alley, always very smoky, unfortunately. And we entered, we looked, where can we go? We had children with us. There was a group of non-Muslims over here, like 20 people smoking, very smoky, everywhere. And on the other side of the bowling alley, there was 3 brothers who were smoking. I said, khalas, if we go in between, we're going to get a lot of smoke. So we either have to go to these guys and see if we can convince the non-Muslims here in Jeddah, or go to these guys and try to ask them. I said, let's go, of course, bowling by the Muslims. The people who were smoking, they were asked nicely, can you please stop smoking? By another brother. And a fight started, like a verbal fight. It's our right, we can smoke, we have children, but it's not my problem, you have children, this is my right, you cannot take my right. And it got ugly. So finally, and I'm nothing special, but just from the techniques, I stepped in, Assalamu alaikum, brother, I want to let you know right now, we can't stop you from smoking. This is, not talking about Islam, but from the rules of this bowling alley, it's your right. If you want to smoke, this is absolutely your choice. I cannot tell you not to smoke. It is your right to smoke. I want to make that very clear. But he said, it's your right to smoke. No problem. It's your right. So I just tamed, taming? You have a wild animal that really, I just tamed him and he was so calm all of a sudden. And then I said, but brother, can I say something to you? What's that? Can I tell you why I came here? He said, why? We had a choice to go over there or to come over here. I said, let's go bowl by those Muslims. Because although it's their right to smoke, and I can't tell them not to, I'm sure when they see we have children, they're going to be respectful and put out their cigarette. I'm sure of it. It was beautiful. Khalas, it was done. He did not know how to respond. And this is not because of me, nothing special for me, this is from Allah, but a beautiful technique. I painted a picture of this person has to live up to a respectful Muslim. I'm sure he's going to put out a cigarette. Of course he put out his cigarettes. What followed was salams, asif, malesh, this, that, and it was beautiful. Give a person a fine reputation to live up to, and they will often do this, and we can do this with da'wah. This is the end, the message. I'm out of time. I wanted to close because we're supposed to finish with 10 minutes left. Sharpen your da'wah is our message. You want to be effective? Sharpen your da'wah. This is what you want. The message is sharpen yourself. Next time, if there's a next time, I probably spoke too much, which is good because they won't want me to come back. Next time, we can focus more at the PhD level of da'wah, specific methods on how to close the sale. Okay?